Good evening. I'm Pratt Wiley. I'm the president and the CEO of the partnership. Now, every culture has a tradition of gathering around the hearth, where we cultivate and sustain the relationships, the feelings, and the values that are core to our center. This ritual is one of enlightenment. We light our Christmas trees, menorahs, and candles for Diwali as a symbol that light triumphs over darkness, warmth over cold, knowledge over ignorance. And it is through this ritual that a group of people, a cohort, becomes something more and something greater. They become a community. Now, over time, these rituals may be disrupted, adapted, or they may become so routine that we forget even why we do them. But we really never stop gathering to celebrate our achievements, to honor sacrifices that were made on our behalf, and to renew our hope for a brighter future, a place where we all belong and we all prosper. And that's why we're gathering today for this homecoming to celebrate, to honor, and to renew. Welcome to the Partnership 2021 annual meeting. Now, I would like to welcome the chairman of the Partnership Board of Directors and the Chief Marketing Officer of Boston University's Questrom School of Business, Paul Alexander.
I'm Paul Alexander, proud chair of the board of the partnership. As we prepare to start our third year of a global pandemic, organizational leaders around the globe are no longer trying to get back to normal. Instead, they are designing the new normal. These moments of disruption can be unsettling, but through disruption comes opportunity, and through opportunity comes systemic change. We face a set of conditions like never before. Think about it. No generation of leaders have had to manage through a global pandemic, political unrest and insurrection, technology advancing faster than humans can absorb it, and a racial reckoning. Business, civic, and government leaders are recognizing that old leadership models cannot be relied upon. We need a new brand of leaders, providing fresh thinking and a new direction. Leaders informed by diverse backgrounds and experience to manage a workforce with 4 generations, the most racially and ethnically diverse in history. We need leaders who are adaptive, resilient, and innovative. We need leaders like you. Over the past 5 years, more partnership alumni have been honored by the Boston Business Journal's 40 Under 40 list than any other organization. And just last month, the Boston business community honored 18 partnership community members as Boston's most powerful people. This evening, partnership alumni include the Chief Justice of Massachusetts, the Mayor of Boston, and the next United States Attorney. And just as partnership alumni are today's leaders throughout Massachusetts, we look to those of you completing your programs tonight to be our communities, our states, and our nation's leaders of tomorrow. My fellow board members and I could not be prouder. And speaking of my partnership board colleagues, I am proud too that we have the most dynamic, diverse, and strategic board of any organization. We have 6 incredible board members who are stepping down at the conclusion of this year. And I want to exercise a privilege of the chair and use a few minutes to thank each of them individually. First is Minnie Baylor Henry. Minnie has been a member of the board for 7 years and has been a pivotal leader as chair of our Life Sciences Committee. Bobby Cates Darnick. Bobby has been a board member since 2006. Ralph Martin. Ralph twice served as partnership board chair. Desiree Rawls Morrison. Desiree joined the board in 2018, and she has improved both our form and our substance. Jim Rooney. Jim has been a board member since 2008. And last, Eduardo Tobon. Eduardo is an alum of both the Fellows and the NGE programs. We are also excited to announce 4 leaders joining our board with an unmatched ability to help shape and drive the strategic direction of our organization and support Pratt and the management team. The first is Marcela Aldaz Matos. A Fellows program alum, Marcela is a partner at Surfsides Capital, where she advises clients on HR practices. Todd Blackwell. Todd is Senior Vice President at TJX Companies, where he runs Marmax, overseeing the TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods brands. Laura Morgan Roberts. A Fellows alum, Laura literally wrote the book on the partnership. She wrote 2 case studies for Harvard Business School, as well as our 30-year impact study. And finally, Manita Shah Mara, a next generation executive alum. Manita is head of organizational effectiveness and diversity and inclusion at Biogen. Please join me in thanking and acknowledging our outgoing board members and in welcoming and congratulating our incoming members. Thank you.
I grew up in an entirely Black community in Kansas City. I actually didn't go to Morehouse. I went to Yale. And when I was at Yale, I found myself very involved in things that had to do with advancing the Black community. And Boston was a weird place in that I couldn't find a professional community of Black people. It was like I didn't know where they were, other than, the folks who I met at Harvard. I found a church to go to, but it wasn't quite the same as I was trying to figure out how could I plug into Boston and, take advantage of all of the advantages that had somehow flowed to me. The Harvard Business School is a great platform. And ultimately, because of the partnership, I think I figured out how to use that platform to make a difference in the Black community in Boston.
I think, I find myself as a Black professional that doesn't surround themselves with a lot of other Black professionals. I work at a bank, and we don't always see so many of those of kindred spirits. And so I was looking at programs like the partnership because I really wanted that connection and sort of that comfort level in a professional space where that you're having a shared experience, that people will understand some of the challenges that you bring up in these really important conversations that the partnership facilitated. It's one of those things where you can say a lot of the things you feel like you wouldn't normally say in your professional environment, express the challenges that you have and have people nod and say, exactly, that's what happened to me too. And then find those tools to work through them together. I also really wanted confidence, a little bit more confidence. I think that as a woman and a woman of color, you have that imposter syndrome a lot of the time where, you might be climbing the ladder, you might be doing a lot of great things, you're volunteering in all the spaces that really have a positive impact on not just yourself, but others. And you still think, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And so just being able to be around other people and that feeling that way and being able to build that confidence in what I do was exactly why I found the partnership. This has been a great experience. I also think, there will always be somebody that needs this community in some way. What I do hope to see is that there's even more communities like this one that are easier to access. Maybe it's, different type of networking, and that it's something that is across the country. It's easy to access. I hope that, my protege or my children don't necessarily feel like they need to be part of the partnership, but they have the desire to. I hope that they are more like, hey, yeah, I'd just like to meet some more professionals, and that's really great and super dope, rather than, necessarily needing a confidence boost, needing to better navigate a difficult work environment. I hope that they just want to participate and don't necessarily need to.
But from your perspective, David, do you hope that there's a third generation of Thomases going through the partnership?
I would only be disappointed if 30 years from now, when I'm 95, I'm talking to my grandchild who's in the partnership, and what he or she describes is a partnership that has not changed, right? Because that will mean one of two things. The partnership has become a relic, nice to visit, but not really adding value that's consistent with where the world is. Or worst yet, it will say that the world has not changed. The world has actually not gotten better. The goal of the partnership is not just to impact individual lives, but it has been to make a better world.
I'm Marguerite Fletcher. I use the she, her pronouns. I'm partnership class of 1991, also the president of Fletcher Consulting.
So good to be here with you and with my girl, Marguerite Vernay Myers, she, her, hers, and class of 91 for partnership.
I guess that it just kind of shifts and adjusts as time goes on, because I think within each phase of my life, I had people I could turn to and lean on for help, for advice, for guidance, you know. And I think with each career switch, I started out at a law firm, but then I went in-house at a couple technology companies. And that felt like a better way to practice law for me. I mean, I learned wonderful things at Hale and Dorr, but then that felt better. And then I had my own practice, and that felt like a better way to balance the family piece. And then Renee invited me to work with her at VMCG. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is cool.
Definitely come from the generation where you just need to be happy you got a job. Clearly, the biggest challenge early on was the money. I mean, I was in debt significantly, as was my husband at the time, because he had gone to medical school. And we did not come from families that had any kind of support that they could offer financially. So there was a lot of decision making, being very aware of what that might mean for your earning potential. But I will say that one of the things that Marguerite and I shared was a faith. God was really important in our lives, our sense of integrity, of being full people. That was all sort of part of how we were thinking about ourselves and our lives. And so I distinctly remember thinking, this is not the best use of me. Right? So I don't know if I understood what was, but I understood what wasn't. I did not expect to go in-house because I really loved my practice. I loved being a consultant to lots of different companies and lots of different industries. Netflix was one of my clients, and ultimately they convinced me to come inside. And ultimately I took that on because I had said out loud, I want to be used at my highest potential and gift. And I thought, let's see if you can I've done that twice. Let's see if you can make the understanding you have bigger, create or attach it to a platform and to see if it really works. And then it's just like how things happen. Once you set a course, you don't exactly know how it's going to be accomplished. And you have to be paying attention to the opportunities. Pay attention to opportunities. Because a lot of times people don't do that. They're just grinding in the same place and they're not quite happy, but they're just doing what they think they need to do. And sometimes you just need to ideate and create like a North Star and then be open to how it might happen.
I was practicing law. Renee called and said, hey, why don't you come consult with me? And a couple of years later, and I was like, I don't see how that's going to work. And then she came back again. I was like, oh, maybe it could work. And so I started doing that. And otherwise I wouldn't have. So I really am glad that I was open and paid attention to the opportunities and that she suggested it and said, hey, come on. And then interestingly enough, you know, what she just described about the expanding and contracting of that business, I probably wouldn't have started on my own if there hadn't been a contraction. I was doing legal work on that. That was the other part of my work. So in a sense, like, I guess opportunities present themselves. Your mentors and friends present you with opportunities, and then you grab them when they work, and you know, move when you can. I wish we didn't have to have these jobs that we have right now. I mean, as much as I love the work that I do, I know that when my mother was doing this work, you know, in 1980, she was probably thinking, well, by the time my daughter is working professionally, this won't be necessary. You know, and I certainly would hope that that'd be the case for my children. And yet I know we haven't reached that place of equity. So my hope would be that in 30 years, it wouldn't be quote unquote necessary. But I do hope the partnership will still be in place 30 years from now, and maybe it'll look a little bit different, but I wouldn't want to see a Boston where the partnership is not here, because maybe it would then be a gathering space for people in a slightly different kind of way, but it is such an empowering organization that I want to see it here in 30 years. And when I think about the ways in which it's grown over the last 30 years, then of course it can keep growing and adjust as necessary.
The brilliance of the partnership is that it understood something that people have only been talking about recently, which is social capital. And really what it's doing is it's doing a formal creation of social capital that is just part of how things work. It's just that when there are fewer or when there are barriers, it's hard to pull it off yourself. But that's how the whole world works, right? And so being able to put that together, because you could never, we should say this about partners, we could never create the types of contacts and the kinds of exposure and opportunity that the partnership created, especially folks new coming to Boston, or where all the many places that you are now. It's just sort of like really hard to pull that off yourself as an individual. But you know, it is also about community. And if you talk to any, I mean, as I think about my ancestors, as I think about our culture, it's always been about community. And then there have been these ways that we have forgotten where we come from and who we come from and whose shoulders we're standing on. And I think the partnership was really powerful for reminding us of the power of community.
Good evening. I am Carmen Arce Bowen, Chief Operating Officer of the partnership. Just as the partnership has been home to many of you, the law firm Foley Hoag has been home to us. They have provided us with a place to belong, so that we can in turn do the same for others. The partnership and Foley have been collaborators since our organization's founding in the mid-1980s. And Foley's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion date back much longer than that. We were not surprised, therefore, when national publications announced that Foley will be the first law firm to allow all attorneys and other timekeepers to receive virtually limitless billable credit for their DEI work, as well as any and all legal recruiting activity. Over the past year, we have met with professionals of color from across many industries and heard a common theme. Professionals of color are wearing 3 hats. They have their job, they're often chief spokesperson for their ethnicity or race, and they are integral to the DEI efforts within the organization. Almost every professional of color we have met has gladly worn these hats. After all, our leaders want to be part of the solution. But it doesn't mean that companies and employers cannot acknowledge these multiple roles. Foley's policy recognizes these three hats and creates an incentive for all attorney and timekeepers, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, sexual identity or preference, or other forms of difference, to all become part of the solution. This is why we today celebrate and honor Foley Hoag, a company that truly understands that difference drives success.
Thank you, Carmen. Good afternoon. I'm Ken Leonetti, co-managing partner of Foley Hoag and proud board member of the partnership. On behalf of my partners and colleagues, I want to thank the partnership for this recognition. Foley Hoag's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion traces its roots to the founding of the firm in 1943. Our founders were determined to hire the very best lawyers based on individual merit and without exclusion, an attitude that set them very much apart from others in the Boston legal community of that era. Those twin traditions of excellence and inclusiveness have remained guiding forces in the firm. And it was these values that influenced our decision to provide full billable hours credit for all DE&I work by our lawyers. We have long known that diverse teams drive innovation and success, and we look for talent everywhere. Creating and sustaining diverse teams is not easy. It's not the job of a single person or department. It takes all of us, and it can't be accomplished with one act. It takes commitment year after year. Our goal is to create a strongly inclusive culture where every attorney feels that they can bring their authentic self to work. That doesn't happen without ongoing focus and effort. We want our people to feel energized and engaged about diversity, equity, and inclusion at Foley Hoag. Many of our attorneys have been investing heavily in our initiatives, which are so important to the firm and its culture. We wanted them to know that their efforts are being counted, including for salary and bonus purposes. We also see it as a way to encourage participation by everyone at the firm. Our decision to not cap billable hours credit for diversity, equity, and inclusion work by our lawyers was not obvious and not without risk. But we moved forward because it best reflects our tradition, our values, and our culture. In addition to our billable hours policy and our support of the partnership, we have numerous other efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in our firm, in our community, and in our world. The firm's Charles Beard II Fellowship recognizes law students who have demonstrated commitment to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. This award honors the firm's former partner, Charlie Beard, the first Black partner at a major Boston law firm, and a previous member of the partnership's board of directors. The Foley Hoag Foundation, which was established in 1980 with the legal fees we received representing the plaintiffs in the historic Boston school desegregation case, supports programs addressing racial, ethnic, and gender equality in the 3 U.S. cities where we have offices: Boston, New York, and Washington, D.C. Finally, our pro bono legal efforts include representing various organizations advancing economic empowerment of women and people of color in the United States and abroad, such as Axion International, the Center for Women in Enterprise, Initiatives for a Competitive Inner City, and others. At Foley Hoag, we have always believed that diversity of ideas and perspectives create better advocates for our clients. In other words, like the partnership, we believe that diversity drives success. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Karen James, Vice President of Leadership Development at the partnership. And continuing with this theme of the partnership as a community and the partnership as family and other ways that connections have been created this year, I had the privilege of speaking with a few participants from this year's leadership programs, the professionals who are at the very core and are the heart of what the partnership works so hard to do.
I was wanting to learn a little bit more from the experiences that other leaders have gone through, such as yourself and my cohorts, and to take in their experiences and see what I could do to adapt them to my own personal growth and how I can maneuver this sort of working relationship with GBH.
Since completing my training, there's so many things that I can talk about. I mean, my ability to negotiate, my ability to advocate for myself, my ability to really be I would say an active listener, recapitulate the things, right, that I'm listening, be able to share and really come to an agreement and create win-win situations, no matter the conflict or no matter how different the opinions are.
What stands out the most is how difficult it is to be the first at something. And the partnership has been developing and helping professionals grow for decades now in the Boston area. And it's the first time in North Carolina. And there, in my mind, a lot of great successes and things to improve for the coming years.
With any program or organization you join, the networking piece is like the most invaluable. Also, just seeing a perspective of what others think makes great leaders. We've heard it all through school, taking charge, all these different characteristics. So that was another thing I was looking forward to based off the schedule and the sessions, kind of what were all the characteristics that folks from another place, whether it's another company, another state, what do they see as a leader?
The timing of this program, specifically for me, was actually really perfect. After coming from last year, where it was a year of kind of being in this survival mode, right, adjusting to the new normal, the beginning of this year was already starting to feel like I needed to sort of, rethink career-wise and understand if the path I'm currently on is what I should stay on, or maybe I need to reevaluate and consider other options.
After having gone through this partnership program, it's really more than that. It goes beyond that. It's about talking about the issues that really affect us. It's about connecting with people at a different level. It's not just at the professional level. There's a lot of things that we can gain from those personal connections. So I think my relationship, even with my immediate team here at my own organization, was deepened by the experiences that I had at the partnership.
Being able to have conversations with people who were, senior executives of color helped me to actually go back to my, to my organization and I think take a more active role in those conversations than I normally would have.
Something that I really appreciated about this program, especially during the time that it took place, is that in 2020, there were so many things that happened, things that impacted us in many different ways, whether you're a woman, a person of color, an immigrant, someone who identifies as, queer, or there's just so many things that happened to people and impacted people in different ways. And I feel there's a lot of folks who wanted to talk about it or be allies. And it was just really difficult to understand, like, what is my place in a corporate or business environment? Like, how do we even start the conversation?
I think the partnership opens the door wide open to the opportunity to be a mentor for younger professionals who are finding their place in corporate America, but also for a mid-career professional like myself to find and seek out for mentors that perhaps have had similar experiences or experiences that are very different that I could learn from. So to me, that is invaluable.
I just wanted to extend a huge thank you and appreciation, just tons of gratitude to the partnership and everyone who was a part of it, cohorts, everyone alike. In Tlingit, you'd say Atlain Gunneth Chish. I come from a very small island in Alaska, and I found my way all the way over to Boston. And there is not a day that goes by that I thought I'd even make it that far in this line of work. So the amount of empowerment and just the uplifting and the inspiration that you all provide for all of us is just instrumental. And there are no words to thank you all enough.
Aren't our participants fantastic? They are a clear example of the professional excellence and commitment to their community that has always been the hallmark of this organization. Each day, the partnership supports individuals and organizations to be more innovative, resilient, and authentic in their leadership. We at the partnership have been a more innovative and resilient organization because of our extraordinary team. Carmen Arce Bowen, Alex Bernard, Roseanne Carboni, Stephanie Cerezo, Asif Devji, Maya Gravat, Karen James, Sebastian Patino, Shivani Sheth, Rashi Sham, Jaquetta Van Sant, Leslie White, and Anjali Wara. It is a privilege to work with each of them every day, and I thank you. I also wish to thank our incredible board of directors. Every CEO hopes for a board that can appreciate the challenges of the next 30 days, as well as envision the opportunities of the next 30 years. And that is the board that we have under the leadership of Paul Alexander. In another year marked by pandemics and insurrection, grief and hope, every board member has supported me and the partnership, and this support means more than I can possibly express. I want to take a personal moment to thank former board chair Marcy Reed. Marcy guided and supported me through my first year and a half as CEO, and I am so much better for it, both professionally and personally. Furthermore, there wouldn't be a partnership without Marcy, whose leadership and determination following the Great Recession laid the foundation on which this organization now sits. Thank you, my friend, for everything. You have earned your retirement. Now, please also join me in thanking our tremendous premier sponsors, Biogen, National Grid, Liberty Mutual and Procter & Gamble, the TJX companies, Wellington Management, Northeastern University, State Street, Wayfair, and Vertex. I also thank our amazing corporate clients. These more than 115 companies and organizations are working each and every day to create climates where all professionals thrive, no matter who they are or where they're from. These firms recognize that talent is the greatest long-term competitive advantage, and those companies that best identify, recruit, and advance talent are those that win. Our thanks include the members of the Executive Council and to our job board companies. These are companies that are intentional in their pursuit and advancement of diverse talent, and companies with a demonstrated commitment to creating corporate cultures where everyone belongs. And finally, I want to thank our wonderful participants and alumni. You welcomed us into your converted offices, your kitchens, your bedrooms, your basements, and your living rooms. And so we return to a living room. This organization may have been founded in a boardroom, but it was built in a living room. We have heard this evening how today's leaders and visionaries, those who were sitting right where you are not that long ago, continue to rely upon the lessons and the relationships from that living room. And as you take the next leap in your career, I want to ask two simple questions. Firstly, what will you take from this experience? Will you view the completion of your program as an accomplishment to be memorialized on your wall? Or will you each day carry the lessons and relationships gained through this program like a badge of honor? I hope it's the latter. And that's why we don't issue diplomas. But what we do issue is a partnership digital badge for all of our alumni of our leadership development programs. This digital badge allows you to easily share your accomplishments across multiple social media platforms, highlight your employer's investment in you, as well as your own leadership capabilities, more easily find each other, and proudly display your status as a lifelong member of our partnership community. Make sure you look out for the sign-up email for the partnership digital badge. It should arrive in early 2022. And then make sure that you share it on LinkedIn, embed it in a digital resume, and include it in your company email signature block. My second question is, over the next year, who are you going to welcome into your living room? I want you to continue to set your sights on the corner office in the boardroom, and we will continue to support you each and every step along the way. But having more of us in the boardroom starts with having more of us in the living room. So who are you inviting into yours? Do you have a classmate, a friend, or a colleague seeking to take the next step in their career, or maybe is feeling isolated and disconnected? Welcome them into your living room, introduce them to the partnership, and invite them to join us. Do you sit on a corporate board, or do you engage with executives striving to innovate and open up new markets? Welcome them into your living room, introduce them to the partnership, and invite them to join us. Can others benefit from your insights, your expertise, your time, and your treasure? Welcome them into your living room, sponsor a participant, and invite them to join us. You are a valuable member of the partnership family. This place will forever be a home for you. Welcome. I hope you continue to stay safe and you have a good night.